listening to Finding My Own Weird, where we'll follow yours truly on a journey to discover my own authentic weird self. I'm your host, Christine Lassiter. Joining me will be amazing guests who found their own formula and are living and thriving as their own wonderfully weird selves. So hold on tight, it's about to get weird. Years ago, when I was in my post-divorce years, it was the early times of internet dating. So early that you would rather lie about how you met rather than be judged and side-eyed by anyone who found out the truth. But I embraced my internet dating. I was one of the only ones in my friend group who did internet date, or at least admitted to it, and my friends were fascinated. There was always a story. They would just gather around and they would listen to how the latest first last date went. There was this guy who was so painfully shy and insecure that he would not let me look directly at him. Then there was a guy who met me at an IHOP, but freaked out when a group of young people came in because one of the young people was his stepson. Now, he had claimed to me that he was either separated or divorced, I forget which, but this man was in fear of being found out. Next, there was this guy who went to the bathroom and never came back. That really happened. Even if I'm not your type physically, I am engaging enough that he should have been able to tolerate a quick dinner with me. There was the preacher man who was going through a divorce and had stepped down from his church because of how psycho his wife was. He was such a great gaslighter that I actually dated him for 6 months, feeling so sorry for him and how his wife was treating him, until I heard her and the kids on the phone begging him to come back home. And then he straight up cheated on me, and his new girlfriend called me, telling me how she knew how I was psycho and I needed to just forget him. Done, sister. They got married, and he later reached out and told me how miserable he was. Karma is a big old bitch, boy. And my favorite was the magician ventriloquist. Nope, this is not made up for comedic effect. He was at least 10 years older, but maybe even older than that. And he showed up in these old man Velcro shoes. We did not hit it off romantically because I was not his type. That's right. I was not hot and young enough for a 50-year-old Mr. Magic. We did become friends, though. The first time I went to his house, a little tiny mobile home in Shreveport, Louisiana, he had this room where he made all of his dummies. It was some serious Twilight Zone shit. But I had young kids, and he actually did a couple of their parties for free. Well, actually, he made me make him dinner because he was a 50-year-old broke magician ventriloquist. But he was pretty entertaining. Eventually, when I was seriously at the end of my rope with internet dating, when the stories became less fun and just became gross guys wanting me to come over or send me dick pics, I decided to give it one more shot. I went into it with absolute skepticism and defeat. I connected with this guy whose photo was him sleeping on a couch, and I wish I could remember what he originally said to me. But I do remember it was weird. We talked for a few days, and since I'd already had it in my mind that this was going to be another bust, I didn't want to drag it out online, chatting. Let's just meet. He was a little taken aback by how direct I was, but agreed anyway. And I decided we should meet at my favorite sushi restaurant where I just happen to know the bartenders very well. An extra layer of protection. And right before this, he told me he'd given himself a haircut and had a sty in his eye. Well, all I could do was picture Woogie from There's Something About Mary. But when I got there, he was a pretty cute guy. We had some sushi and some wine, and we talked for hours. We closed down the restaurant. I wasn't quite ready to walk away, so I just suggested we continue talking somewhere else. He lived a few blocks away, and we talked and laughed the night away. I knew I was smitten, and so was he. We just passed the 11-year mark since that date. I still love that goofy, weird, sweet, supportive guy. You know, we find love in the most unexpected places. My next guest found his own weird and goofy guy who shares his passion for dressing in character and finding weird things to do. Welcome Chad Kornack, aka Birdbrain the Human Chicken.
Hi, welcome back to Finding My Own Weird. I am here with Chad, also known as Birdbrain the Human Chicken. I actually have been following you as I've been getting a little bit deeper into the weird community of Portland. I got to meet you the other day at the Sleestack's Big Adventure video movie premiere. What a super fun time.
It was.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get started. Like we've done on all my episodes, we want to follow your journey on how you became your true, authentic self. That always starts at the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Sure. I grew up in a small town just south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a little suburb called Oak Creek. And it was the 70s and 80s, and it was quite a different world and a different place. When we moved out there, I guess I was born in the city, but we moved there when I was like 3. It was all farmland. You go back now and it's all sprawling subdivisions. It's very suburbia.
Wow. Isn't it weird to go back and you're like, well, that's not where I played. There's buildings there.
Totally different feeling. But yet there's something that's consistent about it that's held on through the years.
So is that where you went to school?
I did. I went to high school there.
What was your school experience like?
At the time, I wasn't very fond of it. As time has passed, I find that I was right in feeling that way. I didn't know why I felt so out of place at the time. But the environment is very conservative, very sports-oriented.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm from Friday Night Lights.
That was our scene, yeah. And as a matter of fact, I think at the time when I went there were about 1,200 students in the whole high school, and I knew zero that were alternative in any way. Like, there was definitely no alternative sexualities or identities of any kind. And if you did, you were pretty much ostracized. So I didn't really feel like I had a good place there.
So did you know that you were gay then?
I didn't know what was going on. I was just very confused for a long time.
Right. You just knew that you were different.
Yeah.
How did you do in school? I mean, grade-wise?
Fairly all right. That story actually starts earlier on because I had been a shining student. When I first got into kindergarten, I was treated like some kind of celebrity. And then once they realized that I didn't always play along the way they wanted me to, they kind of dropped that spotlight, and I just became an outcast guy.
So what made them treat you like that in kindergarten?
Well, I was a very peculiar child. I don't want to say I skipped childhood, but there were needs in my family that I needed to fill, and I didn't know that. When you're young, you just kind of play the role that you're put into. I played the role of an adult. So I went into kindergarten sounding like the sophisticated guy, and they tested me, and they put me in a gifted and talented program, and they started me in the school play. Like, I was Santa for Christmas '79.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had me do a Orange Julius preparation tour where they were showcasing their poster child. Look what we have in our school system. This guy he's 6 and he can demonstrate cooking.
Okay, so Orange Julius, as in the smoothie?
Yeah. I had to crack a raw egg into it, and I remember I was doing a school board demonstration once, and I got some shells in there, and I ad-libbed a little bit, and everybody laughed, and I was embarrassed, but also gratified that they laughed. But it was a confusing experience for a little kid just to be taken, oh, you can speak like an adult, you can do these things. But I got along better with the teachers than I did the students, and I didn't really understand the point of school yet. I kind of thought, I'm here to entertain.
Well, they created that field for you. They're the ones that created that beast, right?
Yeah, and I was kind of set up that way already, kind of being the fixer in my family. The rest of the world was sort of like a picture out a window. I felt like an observer as opposed to a participator. So when I went to school and I hadn't really had experience with other people, I felt like, I'm here to make people happy and fix things. But now they're wanting me to do schoolwork and get along with the other kids. I don't know that.
So you very briefly alluded to you had to be this way because of your childhood. Is that something you want to talk about?
Well, a little bit. There's a historical trauma in my family that really I can date back to World War II. My grandfather was traumatized during that time, and they didn't know what that was back then. They didn't know PTSD. They just said, oh, you're shell-shocked. Rub a little dirt on it, walk it off kind of attitude. But he was broken, and I see that now. So much of this I understand only now, looking back. But at the time, it's just confusing. You're in the middle of it.
And your reality is the only reality.
Indeed.
Until you do start going out into society and seeing how different people function.
And we were very contained in a little bubble. My grandparents had one child, that was my mother, and she grew up in their bubble, and she had one child, that was me. And I continued to be in that little bubble. So by the 70s, we kind of had a bubble of the 50s, But I was there to be an adult with my adult family. And that's kind of how I felt. I didn't get the kid thing.
So when you started school, did you make any friends?
Some, yeah. There was actually one person that I made friends with that we remained friends for a long time. But a lot of the times I kind of looked at them as nice kids, but people to entertain, I guess. It was a weird perspective for a child to have.
So you weren't necessarily an outcast. They thought you were funny, and being funny and entertaining kept you from being too ostracized.
Yeah. Kind of being the class clown did help that in some way. A lot of people liked me, and I didn't realize that. That's another thing I only realized looking back is that, gosh, I felt like an outcast. I felt like everyone hated me. But no, people were reaching out. People were being nice to me, and I didn't know how to receive that or understand that.
Because you hadn't had that experience on how to socialize
Right.
with other children, and that can be very confusing.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things that you were involved in school, like extracurricular stuff?
Not a lot. My extracurricular was going home to the television and my mother. It was a small world. But I did have a few friends, and we did our peculiar weird things on the side, which doesn't have anything to do with entertaining.
Well, what were those things?
Oh, I was a mapper. I got into maps.
Oh, really?
And,
Did you make your own maps, or were you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you were like creating little worlds.
I still do. I have a fake world right now. It's called Cordinia.
Cordinia.
Yeah, and I map it all out.
Oh, that's fascinating. Did your friends do that as well?
One friend did, and other friends just thought it was interesting.
They're like, I don't know how to do that, but I'll watch you do that.
Yeah.
So you did mapping with your friends. Anything else unusual that you did with it?
Not a lot. I didn't really make a lot of friends and go out. That didn't start until I was in high school and late high school, just about to graduate. I got out of the house and got a job and had my mind blown by the outside world.
Like, there's a whole world out here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At the
that's-
tender age of 17, that would have been.
Well, that must have been quite the shock to you then, to see that kids go and do stuff all the time, and there's a lot of activities. There's a lot of world outside of your bubble.
Yeah.
What was your first job?
Being a costume character,
Oh, you
as a matter of fact.
really? So you've been doing that for a little bit then.
Yeah. It always seemed attractive. And I think what attracted me the most was that they were able to silently interact with people but bring about a character. Early on, I had visited, there was a place called Great America that was owned by Marriott's at the time, and now it's Six Flags. And then I went to Disney World in Florida in '78, and I saw the characters, and I'm like, there's something about that where in that position, that individual doesn't need to get involved in the same way as another human would. They're kind of an observer in a way. A cartoon character is kind of an observer. They're a symbol of human. And I guess I felt kind of like a symbol myself as opposed to a real human.
Well, and you still got to do that entertaining that you'd been doing forever, but you got to do it on your terms.
Yeah, and if it was a previously existing character, like a Disney character or Warner Brothers, there was a full, very rich character to hang your hat on and just kind of go into that mode. And, I know how this guy works. I've seen him on TV.
So you did get to do some of those different characters like that. So
Very much, yeah.
who have you been?
Oh, a lot of it's secret. But I've been very close friends with a lot of the Warner Brothers characters for several years. And I did a lot of freelance things. So I would work for a lot of local people. And for a while I was in Florida working for Busch Entertainment. They owned Busch Gardens and Sesame Place and SeaWorld. So a lot of things were also independent. When I moved out here, I kind of retired from that because my real reason for going out here was to go to school and kind of start a new life in a way. I had retired from the biz,
Right.
which I can get into that later, but I still continued on to this day. I've just become more independent about it. I don't really go corporate as much as I used to. It was all more corporate characters.
So what did your family think about you starting your career life and being costumed character?
It took a little convincing that it was okay to do.
They were like, yes, you'll make a great income. You'll be able to support yourself.
See, they were all very old school.
Great.
I lived with my mother and my grandparents for much of my life growing up. And they knew, my grandfather knew, you work in a foundry and you make enough money and then you can build a house. It was kind of the start with sweeping the floors kind of philosophy.
Oh, fun, because fun doesn't pay the bills.
And my mother was hard to convince, but once she got a taste of it, she's like, oh, this is cool. You've got a lot of cool friends. You're getting out in the world.
So she appreciated the fact that you opened your eyes a little bit and were exploring all that.
Yeah, I think so.
Was she ever a little bit jealous of that since she didn't do a lot of that?
I think so. one year she actually joined me at the theme park. And that was awkward. And I wasn't too happy about that. But of course, I was going to let her do it.
Well, but what a cool experience for her, because not only did she get to be up close and personal with what you were doing, but she got to live a little bit.
Yeah, I think that did expose her a little bit, just to a little sliver of my world. Yeah.
I have parents who didn't do a lot of traveling. My mom is very just homebody kind of person. The first time I went to New York, she at first was like, that's the big city. Why would
yeah.
you? But then she saw how much fun I had. And then she's like, well, I think I would like to go and check it out. So I still got to take my mom to New York because I want her to be able to explore that. I want her to be able to see that there's more of the world than the little plot of land that you stay on.
I was lucky that my mom did enjoy traveling and she would take me on trips and stuff. That's how I got to do things like Disney and all.
Yeah.
But there is something about the fact that like everybody pretty much stays in the same area. They know the same town. They know the same people. And that's it. But I was never like that. I was like itching to go out there and see things.
Yeah, and I bet there's still people that you went to school with that are still there.
Plenty of them.
Same here. They don't leave the borders. They stay there. They're cozy and comfortable in that little world.
It's safe.
But I feel like it closes minds.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I've always thought that the greatest investment you can make is travel.
Oh, for sure.
Not material things so much as social
Experience.
things and people and cultures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now a word from our sponsor, me. When you're daydreaming about buying a new home, what do you envision? Are you on House Hunters and you're going to 3 different homes? And you like the open concept, the wood-burning fireplace, and the location away from the city and the hustle and bustle? But your partner loves the home with all the modern upgrades, an en-suite master bedroom, and walking distance to all the local eateries and pubs. And then you come together and choose the third option, the home with a fireplace, modern upgrades, that has a great walking score, but is also tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Or maybe you have your sights on an adorable fixer-upper. You're a visionary and you can already see the potential a property has, and you're so excited about doing the work to make it your perfect sanctuary. When you're daydreaming, you're probably not spending your time thinking about the paperwork needed to purchase a home, how your income will be calculated, or will your credit score give you a better rate or cost you more? Well, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. As your favorite mortgage broker, I can attend to all of the boring details and let you do all the daydreaming. And then we can come together and make this dream a reality. To talk to me about a mortgage in Oregon or Washington, email me at Christine at tworiversmtg.com. That's CHRISTINE at TWORIVERSMTG.com, NMLS 2248608. And now back to your program.
How quickly did you leave your little small town?
Well, I was there for longer than you'd think, but that was because it was kind of a sweet deal. I was able to sleep at the parents' house, but I was out of the house all the time. I was working, I was partying.
Man, when you broke free, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. There was a time in the middle 90s where I was working at a theme park during the day, and at night I was third shifting at a hotel, driving a bus to the airport and back. And then I had about 8 hours in between for everything else. The sleeping, the eating, the driving, and that doesn't work out in the end.
Wow.
I'd catch naps at red lights.
Oh, no.
I'll never do that again.
Yeah, I'm assuming the hotel did not know that.
Oh, they didn't. I actually caught naps on their couch, so they knew I was napping during the shift.
They're just like, just let him do his thing.
Pretty much.
As long as he can drive these people back and forth.
Yeah. It was a sweet deal because I had free room and board at my parents'. Plus, I was making like $60 in tips every night at that job.
Oh, that's huge, especially then. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of, it was like 97, I went and bought a brand new Buick Regal. What kid does that? I guess I was not a kid. I was like 25. But
Right. But I mean, that's still a funny car for a 25-year-old to buy too.
Yeah.
I can buy any car I want. I'm going to buy a Buick Regal.
Mm-hmm. I was used to the old people big cars with my grandparents and all. Yeah.
Yeah, my first car was a 1987 Buick Park Avenue.
Oh yeah.
It was a tank.
That is, yeah.
Massive.
Through anything.
It was like a blue, massive tank. Yeah.
Oh, it was blue too.
Oh, it was blue. Yeah, it was light blue. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Lovely car. I probably would have never been injured in that car, but I hated it. So at what point did you move out and and move on?
Sure. It was, I guess it was 98 when I moved to Florida, and there's a lot of that kind of work down there. And that's when I got my contract with Bush, and I never looked back from that point. I often have said there's a reason why my first adventure out of the house was across the country instead of just to the next town. I kind of needed to just clear
You
everything.
needed space from where you were.
Yeah.
You needed something completely different.
And I found at that time, I was like, that was such a fresh start. It told me a lot of things about myself, too. And it helped me find myself. It was a very steep learning curve.
At what point did you realize, because we talked about this a little bit ago, in school and stuff, you didn't realize you were gay. In a lot of those theme parks, especially characters, there's a lot of that.
There was the whole world of entertainment was very diverse, and it was actually a wonderful environment to encounter. And it very, very quickly changed a lot of the things that I had stuck in my head all my life, because you only know the one
Right.
thing, the one viewpoint. I made a lot of friends, and it was just very eye-opening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long were you in Florida?
Just over a year. It was a year contract, and they tried to renew me, but I got to thinking, well, you're going to keep renewing me, and then what? One day I just won't have this job, and then I don't really like Florida. I don't want to be here.
Right. Nobody can blame you for
I like
that.
the job, but so I decided I'll go back to the Midwest, where I know people and things just historically. And it was shortly after that I just returned to Wisconsin, and I met my husband today, and that the rest of from that point forward is history. I got him involved in my little costuming games.
Really?
He-
So he was in Wisconsin?
He was actually in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, not too far away. And he was interested in these things I was doing, and so I got him involved, and we kind of became an unstoppable team. And we,
Did you tell him that you were doing these things on your first date?
oh yeah,
Did you say, hey, by the way,
oh yeah.
I'm quite the character, literally?
It's funny. We met on the internet.
Yes.
The information superhighway.
Very familiar. That's how I met my partner.
And basically, I just found his website, and I said, this guy's got cool stuff. He likes cool music. Look at that. Oh, and I contacted him, and that's all I thought would come of it. And then we just talked, and we found a middle point to meet, which happened to be La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Okay.
A little town on the Mississippi River. And it was first sight, like, oh, wow. I still feel it. It, went through my body.
That is amazing. How long have y'all been together?
That would have been March of 2000.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So,
23 years as of
23
right
years.
now.
Oh, my gosh. So he saw that you were doing these characters, thought that was cool. And so he started getting involved in that as well?
Yeah. I mean, he already had interests. I mean, our interests were already similar.
Right.
So that fit right in.
Because I
right
met him.
into
He's a musician.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
a-
He's been playing the
doing
drums for
entertainment.
so long now, and he's a fantastic drummer. I think of him. He's kind of like a cross between Bono and Keith Moon. He's just beautiful.
Got it going on.
Yeah. First time I saw him drum, I cried. 'Cause
Oh.
I'm very emotional. Yeah, we had a whirlwind dating year. Like 2000 was just traveling back and forth from state to state. And then he moved to Wisconsin, and we collaborated on a lot of costume projects and did some freelancing for different people, resorts in the area. And he was a moose for a resort for a long time.
He was a moose
He was
for
a
a
moose.
resort? Okay.
Yeah. And that kind of spurred him onto a love of moose. So he still plays a moose, but it's his own moose now.
So he's moose.
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to give him my card too, and I just didn't get to make contact. Okay,
He's the
good.
secret moose. I don't know if I can say that.
Well, don't worry, nobody listens. It'll be fine. That's amazing. Had no idea. All right, very cool. We'll be chatting about that later. Yeah, so he was interested in being a moose in that time. What made him think about being a moose?
It was actually, it wasn't planned or expected. The resort
just
had
needed
a
a
pre-existing moose character. And
And he's like, I like this.
yeah, we already were doing the freelance thing. I was playing a character for, there's, I don't know if I can say, he's in Australia now, so I don't think he's in the American market. There was a character named Rags. He had the Rags Kids Club.
Okay.
There were a bunch of rainbow-colored dogs that
Okay.
played rock music at malls.
And so that's why you.
He helped me with that, and then we saw this resort that had a moose character, and he pitched his services to them, and the rest was history.
So y'all just been being characters in your spare time since then?
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool.
Well, I wouldn't say since then. So what happened, I don't want to get too ahead of it, but as I got older, I softened to the whole capitalism thing, and commercialism. And I was starting to realize I'm kind of a part of a corporate scene that I'm not super keen with. And I mean, there was one time when I learned things about the Nestle Corporation that I wasn't very happy about. And then I realized, I'm also the Nestle Quick Rabbit right now. I'm representing, there was conflicting stuff. And the industry changed, I thought, too, as the internet era progressed, because it started off very spirit-based. One of my earliest inspirations was the San Diego Chicken.
Okay.
And he's all about being wacky. He's not selling you anything except for fun. And by the 2000s, I just started to feel like a walking billboard a little bit.
For these big mega corporations. Who had controversy and stuff. Yeah. I said, I've always liked the local people better, local things. Yeah, so you put that aside?
A little bit. There's always going to be goodness in things like the Looney Tunes. I grew up with that, and they're fun. And but it was time to move on, and I never really had the opportunity to go to college or any kind of higher education when I was younger. I didn't come from a college family. They didn't speak that language, and so I just went right into work. So I was nearing 40, and I was like, I want to go to school. I want to learn about people and society, and I want to learn the academic side of this thing that I've been playing with all my life. And so moved out here. Didn't realize that Portland was the weird place that it is.
Well, what made you choose Portland? Was it the school?
Yeah, I thought this would be. I knew it was a colorful kind of culture. I had never seen Portlandia, and I didn't know the whole that was out at the time. I didn't know it. Well, the PSU is here, and I think I had my eye on that, and the culture is different, and the general climate is way better than any other place in the United States, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There was a lot that drove us out here. I don't have to shovel the snow or the rain in the winter here. 2011 was also a turning point in Wisconsin politics, and I was kind of disenchanted with that too. You can look that up in the history books.
I might have to do that. So y'all packed up, moved out here, and he was okay moving out here as well?
Yeah, he was. Leaving behind some of our costume contracts was emotional, but like I said, there are a lot more options these days than we once had.
Did y'all feel like y'all had, at that point, I know that we're going to go into kind of where you are now, but did you kind of feel like you were outgrowing it a little bit too? That now it's time to be a grown-up doing grown-up things? In
some ways, but not really. I know what you're saying, and that did occur to me, but I usually dismiss those thoughts because I don't really believe in growing up.
You don't subscribe to to adulthood. So you got out here to Portland, realized, wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it only took a few visits for us to know how, even our first visit, we knew we felt at home here. The people and the culture was just so welcoming. And that people were being themselves, which I know you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, it's eye-opening when you come from some place that doesn't allow for that.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
It is. It was very conservative where we came from. In a lot of ways, not just politically, but like you had to behave in a certain way, and this seemed like I'd fit in. And as soon as we relocated here, I watched Portlandia, and they had that line in the first episode, I think it was, Portland is where young people go to retire. I'm like, that's what I did. Yeah, I hit home.
Well, what did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, like school, like you were starting school. I mean, like when you were 40 and starting school. What did you want to go to school for?
Oh, I didn't know at the time. I was just looking at it as a blank slate. I didn't know how to make goals in that way. It was kind of like, I'm going to learn, I'm going to experience, and then I'll figure out from there.
Yeah, figure out what you like and what direction you're going to go in.
My school years started off so hopeful. And I wouldn't trade them for anything. I love them. In fact, I was thinking of going back for my master's, but I'm already like getting older. I want to get on with life. I'm okay for now. But in the middle of the school year, 2016 came along, and that hit me hard internally because there were a lot of changes in the world that year, and the election and things like that. And I had some emotional issues through those years.
Yeah.
Two things happened. One is the political changes that happened in the late teens, And the other thing was that I was learning the academic side of why humans are so terrible.
Ugh.
And I don't mean they're terrible. I love humans. They're what I am here for. But they're also terrible at the same time. It's difficult to kind of work that out. Are humans good or bad? We're all double-edged swords.
Were you taking like a philosophy-based thing? Is that where that came from?
Well, I really enjoyed the cross between psychology and sociology. And I find that it turned into more identity studies. Like sociology is the identity of a culture. Like it's about everybody. But your individual identity is also shaped by that. A lot comes from internally, but also it's the environment you're in. And that's another reason why I think a place like Portland is healthy, and you can be weird. You can be whatever you want to be. You're not limited by that. And the society lets you do it.
When we're in places that is more accepting and open to whoever we are, whatever that looks like, I think people are still going to have some mental health issues, but it's not going to be as geared in their identity as it is when they're really ostracized or have to keep silent about things that are going on with them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It gives you the opportunity to realize that you can go anywhere with this, with myself, with who I am. Mm-hmm. Once you start that could be limitless.
And I think it is, especially here.
So, yeah.
So you got here, you got a little bit disenchanted in the world as a whole during a time that many of us were struggling.
This is leading up to the chicken.
Okay.
We're getting there.
All right.
Because when the world starts to go weird, I started to get chickeny.
So tell me how you dealt with that then.
Yeah, I felt like the world is as absurd as I've ever seen it. I didn't realize, and
not in the fun way.
No, and there's no way to out absurd that. So no matter what I do, it's not going to be weirder. That the chicken was something that went way back with me, way back, and I had the idea to. Well, I don't know where to start with that. Do you want me to start with the 70s?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was a youngster and I'd watch cartoons, there were things that appealed to me, and the anthropomorphic characters always appealed to me. If like furry had been a thing back then I don't know what I would have done or would be today. But I saw one cartoon that was called The Nitwits. Very obscure. Can't find it anywhere. But it was a cartoon adaptation of the Old Man, Old Woman skit of Ruth Buzzy and Artie Johnson from Laugh-In. Mm-hmm. They decided that makes good cartoon premise.
Yeah, for small children, yeah.
Yeah, and so they made the Tyrone, the old man, a superhero. And in this one episode, their nemesis was the chicken lady. And she made people into their chicken henchmen. She's like, you'll be great for this job. And I thought, that's funny. It wasn't menacing henchmen. It wasn't anything scary. It was just
more like
humor.
the Minions than the...
Yeah, basically. And the chicken lady was voiced by Joanne Worley. So I hadn't seen that cartoon since it was November of '77 when that aired.
Children out there, you'll need to look up Joanne Worley.
Yeah.
She is quite the character.
Yeah, it stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, like, chicken costumes are fun. It's a comic cliche. And so in the 2000s, when I was, like, starting to lean away from the corporate costuming, I put together the chicken suit, and I honestly thought it was going to be a one-time thing, and that was 2006. And now here we are. But I didn't really start doing it until 2016, until these past few years, because of the absurd thing. And I was like, okay, I can be anything I want. I don't want to go to work for a corporation. I just want to freelance and have fun. And a chicken is funny. It's hilarious. I don't know why people laugh at it, honestly, but they're funny.
Yeah. Well, chickens strut and...
They got their movements.
Yes, yeah. It definitely has its own characteristics that are very, very well known. You can watch a chicken, and if you just watch a chicken, it's funny. Yeah. Like a real live chicken is funny.
Yeah. Plus, nobody can understand why I would do that. Like, the most common question I get asked is, who's making you do this? Are you willingly do this? You must be paid a lot of money. And they're volunteering, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's all about the cash.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just collecting a little scratch here and there, and
oh.
See what I did there?
One of Joanne Worley's things was, no more chicken jokes. And I kind of like that. Being a chicken lady, she hated chicken jokes.
That's hysterical. So this was the first character that you had done here in Portland. Like, you had not been doing it, and then the world happened, and then you're like, you know what the world needs? I need to come back. I need to come out of retirement and be absurd. And so what was the first thing that you did in the chicken costume?
Well, there was a frozen custard store just down the road from me. And I talked to the owner, and I said, well, do you need somebody? They had somebody holding a sign. I'm like,
Right.
Do you want a guy in a chicken suit holding your sign?
Sure.
Everyone will love that. And they let me do it. And that kind of was the beginning of all that. Then I did a few other local businesses, and it took a while. I didn't really want to. I loved Portland Weird, and I loved Weird Portland United. I was afraid to approach them because I thought I didn't want to move their weird needle too much to the weird side. But
Yeah, have you seen? Yeah. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is.
yeah, and but eventually I did. Sleestack gave me a call, and
So he reached out to you,
he did. Yeah,
our dear friend Brent the Sleestack.
Yes. Yeah, and so I'm grateful to him for giving me a call, and I've been having a lot of fun.
Did you do anything with him before his movie?
No, other than just I think some online messages and stuff.
Right. So the movie was the first collaboration.
Yeah.
Which I was just at the premiere last weekend, and holy cow, it was the who's who of Weird Portland. And then the movie, which is Sleestack's Big Adventure, and you can watch that on YouTube. It is just, you need to watch that on YouTube. And I can't believe that he got the original kids from Land of the Lost. Oh, and I used to watch Land of the Lost.
Me too.
I get frustrated, and Brett and I have talked about this a little bit, how when people don't know what a Sleestack is, we're like, we're old.
Right.
But I knew immediately what a Sleestack was. I was like, holy cow, that's my childhood. And then I didn't realize that they were going to be in the movie until we watched it that night. And I'm sitting between a 30-year-old and a 32-year-old. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the real kids from Land of the Lost. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
First of all, kids, those are not kids. I'm like, you don't understand. But that was awesome. And the movie was just super fantastic. It had to be a blast to make.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I was really hot. The costume isn't really that hot. I think because like my legs are just tight, so my face is exposed. But it was. We were in there a while, dancing and jumping around. I was like, I gotta lean on this table.
It was a very active scene. It was the bar scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Attacking the Sleestack. Yeah. The dance.
The
does the dance on the bar.
Yeah, I watched I'm a big fan of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but I watched that scene a couple of times before we actually shot that, just for a refresher.
And then you were just recently this past week.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just a couple of days ago, wasn't it?
It was, it was just a
When
couple
was
of days
that?
ago.
Time.
Thursday.
Yeah, so literally just a couple of days ago, you were involved in another cool, weird collaboration.
Yeah, one of our very own Portland Weirds was getting married. It was down at the Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm.
Which is, right now, just the most gorgeous thing you could ever see outside of Holland. Every color imaginable.
Yeah.
I didn't even know tulips came in all those different colors.
Me neither.
But it is spectacular to see. And then there's all you weirds.
Yeah.
At this wedding.
Yeah. I wish their bloom was bigger. This is their worst bloom in 40 years, I hear, because of the late cold spring we've been having.
The snow in
Yeah.
April. But still, the pictures looked just stunning and weird and fun.
Yeah. And I loved the llamas. There was a llama and an alpaca, and I just loved them.
Yeah, there was Poison Waters was there. The Sleestack was there. Did I see that? Was Slenderman there? Maybe not.
I'm not sure.
There was another.
There were different call times, so I wasn't always with everybody.
Okay, so I saw I just saw a lot of different characters were there. There was several. And I know that there's more collaboration.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see an explosion here of late. I think more and more people are even going to hear about this because there are a lot of weird people in Portland who don't know each other.
Yeah, that's true. It has the potential to snowball.
Oh, and when more people see that in such a positive light, because it's such a positive thing.
It is. I kind of feel like the spirit has been, like, just held back all these years by our conditions, but their tires were spinning, just revving,
Right.
waiting for the gates to open. And now we're kind of at that point where, and I think the point of Brent's Sleestack film was basically to say, Portland still got the spirit. We're still here. We've had some tough times. Definitely the challenges have changed, but weird is our brand. And this is the best way we can come out and say we support the city and the people.
It's why I came to Portland. And that makes it, I'm very passionate about keeping that not only alive, but growing.
Mm-hmm. And that's for me the most gratifying part.
Mm-hmm.
I almost don't have to do anything. It's like just go out and be a chicken and people are happy. But just to see the faces light up and you sense the mood changing, and it's kind of everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I could just walk through the city, and there are people who were probably grumbly a second earlier, and they see me, and their day changes. I learned the power of these costume character things years ago when we would occasionally do, not just the people in the theme park who are expecting to see you, but we'd go to hospitals and different places, and just wherever we would go, seemed like joy would follow. And, I had a lot of weird experiences. My upbringing wasn't as orthodox as possible, but as an adult, I'm trying to take all that weirdness and package it into a funny chicken package and just bring good. Like, rather than negative output, I'm trying to give positive output. Because that could be negative in a lot of ways. I think a lot of us could. But it's on us to say, well, there are better ways to do this.
Well, in the act of playing, the act of actually putting away seriousness for a little bit and you have to be really, really comfortable with yourself. I'm okay with people staring at me and talking to me. And so do you have mostly positive interactions?
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to even recall a negative interaction.
That's amazing.
It's just all positive. It makes you feel really good. It's very addicting.
Right. Those endorphins,
Yeah.
when you get all of that attention and joy that people light up.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're going down the street, do people want to take pictures with you?
All the time, yeah. And I should mention, the costume I'm working with now is old, and it's held together with safety pins. It's not good. But I've got a new one on the way.
Oh, good.
It's taking a little while to put it together because it's gonna be a professional deal.
Where did you get the one you have now?
It's a mishmash of things. It's really a Frankenstein costume.
Oh.
The basic suit I just kind of bought off a costume company website, and then I doctored it up. I put the tail on, and I made the headpiece, and then the feet I got from a mascot maker.
Oh, okay.
I just known their work from years of doing job in the industry. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they have a product I could use. So,
yeah, my second interview was with a girl I went to high school with, and she worked at Jim Henson's Heads and Tails studio.
Oh, okay.
So she made Big Bird's tail for like some of the onstage stuff, and she has the licensed Cookie Monster for. We talked about a little bit about. Do you see connections? Yes. There are these connections that happen with all these interviews, and then Brent making his costume, creating the character that you wanted from these different pieces. I think there needs to be a space for all of these people to be able to work on their stuff and help each other out and give each other ideas.
Yeah, there are just some wildly talented people out there, all levels. The costume makers are some of the things that I've seen from the furry world is incredible. I've been to a few furry conventions too. That's fun. I mean, that's a case of people being their true selves, letting parts of them out that isn't necessarily socially acceptable in their normal circles. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, what are some of the things that you have coming up?
Well, there's the roof ball, like you said.
Yeah, so Brett's doing another collaboration called Roof Ball.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to the new costume. I don't have a whole lot of other events lined up right now, but I'd like to try to get some kind of... I would love to have a regular advertising job. It sounds funny to say that you want to stand on the side of the street with a sign, but that's hilarious. The day goes by quickly. I have fun. maybe it's different than if I was just having to hold it or spin it or something.
And you are open to people reaching out and wanting to do different things with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do have a day job, but
I have a day job.
which most of the weirds do.
Then, it would be great if someday I can ditch the day job. If I
Yeah.
made enough money just as a chicken to do that, I would do that. So if
Wouldn't we
anyone's
all?
out there listening,
Wouldn't we all?
yeah.
If we could just be a chicken for a living, that'd be so awesome. Well, nobody so far has started out their life as a character and continued it for so long. So it's very cool that that's something that you spotted in yourself when you were young.
Yeah, it seemed like a comfortable way to go, and I always wanted to do it. And it turned out to be good for me. I don't think I'd be able to socialize with the world and get on with people the way I do now if I hadn't gone that route.
I've talked to other guests about this. It gives people permission to come up to you and talk to you. When you're a character, people are more comfortable. Like, they may not come up to Chad on the street and start conversations, but they are going to talk to Birdbrain on the streets. And I think that there is something freeing in that. You're giving them space for that.
Yeah. There's definitely space is a good way to put it. I think the whole weird movement I think it promotes diversity and being yourself. And I don't think anybody can know exactly what anyone else is going through, but we can support whatever you're going through and help you with things that might be challenging. And I think just being weird, being outrageous, being big like that, kind of, like you said, give space. You can be whatever you want, and you're not going to be weirder than me. I don't think what you are is weird anyway.
Right.
Unless you're trying to be weird, then that's funny, but we're all valid humans. And
Well, and
it's
it-
okay.
And it doesn't mean that, everybody's going to be a character. It means that maybe they're going to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and be okay with that. The things that they've been too scared to explore in their own selves. And that covers a multitude of things.
Yeah. And these days, there's, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of, there's a lot of non-acceptors.
It's going
in the world.
backwards.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, it's going backwards, and it's shocking.
Yeah, more than ever before. I
I've
think
never
we
seen
need-
anything like that.
I know. I really think this is the time when the weirds need to step up and say, it's okay to be yourself.
Absolutely. We really need people to know that's okay and that you're loved and you're accepted and you're wanted and needed in this world.
Yeah. And it's sad because it's sad when they don't feel that. Because, I don't know, where I'm sitting, I can see the influences that are repressing them and suppressing them.
I would have never thought we would have bounced back in some of these different states where we have.
Yeah.
Where in other areas, we've been moving forward so beautifully, so bad. And people need to see that there's this humanity, there's this tenderness to the weird.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of our goals, is to make people see that there's so much more to it than just a weird person in a costume.
Mm-hmm. It's true what you said about people will open up to me as a chicken. And there have been many cases where somebody just opens up to me and we end up having a conversation, and the fact that I am this giant chicken does not even come into the equation, which is kind of bizarre if you think about it. But I mean, like, maybe I could be a psychologist and just have people into my
Just sit as
coop.
a chicken. Yeah. Come sit on this little nest.
I've got a guest nest over here. Yeah.
You never know. Some people would feel more comfortable there than they would at the office, and you could be the psychologist to the weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably a tall order.
That, I imagine, that takes some extra training for that.
If they're anything like me, then yeah.
But they're also very caring and loving and do so much good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the good I've seen throughout this process that I'm doing here, and more people need to be doing more good.
Mm-hmm.
And that good could helping with charitable events, supporting different causes, or just bringing joy. Like bringing joy for joy's sake.
That's something that I've always really wanted to get into. I'd still like to, and that is charitable movements, some things that, especially movements that I believe in. But as long as it's something positive, I would be right there for any fundraiser or any kind of thing. I know a lot of times they use costumed characters because they're visible. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to be a charity chicken.
Well, I can get you connected with some of our other guests who do a lot of different events that you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get connected with them and come along beside them because they're doing such cool stuff. And there's definitely a need for it. And the more people who are willing to do that, the better.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a great city to make like a home base of that kind of movement.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, my hope is that we can eventually have a weird festival.
It's kind of
This
shocking
is
that's not already going on.
Portland, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
We need a annual Weird Festival, and that's why I'm really hoping to start working with Weird Portland United and helping with those kind of things. I can imagine us doing something kind of on the waterfront and having weird artists and all the weird characters can be involved. People don't even know, unless they've seen a character, they don't even know how many are here.
No,
They have no clue.
I was surprised too. I knew it was a weird town, but there are a lot.
I've been here 5.5 years, and it wasn't until I started this podcast and started looking, and every time I would have a guest, it would kind of turn over these rocks, and there would be more and more and more that would come from that guest, and and then I'd get alerted to others from a next guest, and it's exploded. And I have a list of over 40 that are people that I want to reach out to that I just have because I'm already booked up. I'm just reaching out to them as I start having more openings, and I haven't even scratched the surface. It's so many.
You've got a lot of material to work with.
So
in this town.
I'll be doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And
Glad to hear it.
thank goodness, because this is the most fun I've had in so long.
So glad to hear that.
Yes.
And it's a little belated, but welcome to Portland.
Thank you very much. I love it here. Like, absolutely love it.
So glad.
Well, this is fantastic. I'm going to make sure that people have links to be able to reach out to you, whether that be for charity chicken or advertising or collaboration, or maybe they're having a cocktail party. They just don't have a chicken.
I'll wear my formal wear over the chicken suit.
Absolutely. Well, this is super fun, and this is such a cool thing. I know we're going to see you pop up more and more and more.
Hopefully.
Yes. Well, we're in a movement right now. It's a big thing I feel is happening. We are in an incredible movement that's going to really blow up the weird here. It's been there underneath the surface, popping up here and there, but it's about to explode.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's a certain energy going on right now.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, people need to. We'll have also the link to Sleek's Big Adventure where they can see you and many of our weirds.
Yeah.
And there'll be several that you're like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And then look up those people because it's very cool to see all the people that are involved in that. I have several that I've already interviewed. I have several that I already have booked to interview. So it's like, oh, that was like a who's who. That's what I loved. I was, oh, okay. I'm writing down names of everybody that's in there. Like they're in my list. Okay.
I'm still getting caught up on your podcast, trying to get familiar with all the fellow weirds.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling you earlier, I have big weirds, I have little weirds, and there's both here in abundance. And it's just the coolest place to be. And you don't have to be weird to live here, but it helps.
That's right. Even just a little offbeat is perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even just somebody who just really feels comfortable with who they are or wants to feel comfortable with who they are. This is the spot for you here.
Yeah. I want to add on that note, Chuck Jones was one of my favorite classic cartoon directors. Mm-hmm. And he once said that if you walk in a room and there's pictures on the wall, it's the picture that's a little crooked that gets your attention. And that's what Portland is. It's like the picture that's a little off center in my mind. It's the perfect place for weird to grow and blossom.
Yeah. And the more of the world needs to see the beauty of that weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to do it. That's going to be good.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for being here. I can't believe I realized on this episode that your husband was Moose. That'll be really cool. And yeah, I'll be talking to him in a few minutes, and we'll need to get him scheduled in here too. No, that's incredible. I love the fact that y'all do that together. That's super fun. So very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
Awesome.
Many of us had wild ideas of what we wanted to be when we grew up. Maybe you wanted to be a veterinarian or a teacher. Or maybe you were a real dreamer and wanted to be an actor or a superhero. Very few of us stay on that same career path from childhood cartoons to full-fledged adult. Chad knew he wanted to be a costume character and had such a love for the chicken. He has done characters for most of his adulthood, and even in his 40s, he's looking for even more opportunities to strut his stuff. Thank you to Chad Kornack, Birdbrain, the human chicken, for being here today. To connect with Chad, follow the links below. Also, thank you to our sponsor, Christine Lassiter, mortgage broker with Two Rivers Mortgage. For a mortgage in Oregon or Washington, follow her links below. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share so others can see how I'm finding my own weird.